Every gambler knows that the secret to surviving.
I don't wanna take advice from fools.
You always won every time you placed a bet.
Money, that's what I want.
I'm Joe Duffy, CEO of OffshoreInsiders.com, with the official betting preview of Super Bowl 51. Whew! 51. Can you believe it's been around that long? Can't imagine anything that old. The Atlanta Falcons and the New England Patriots. New England is -3 with a total of 58.5. Money line is New England -160, Atlanta +140. Those of you not familiar with the money line, what it means is for every $100 you want to win, you got to risk $160 on New England. If you bet on Atlanta for every $100 per bet, $100 that you do bet, you will get back $140. This game opened up at New England -3 with a total of 57.5. So far, 69% of spread bets have been placed on the New England Patriots. No surprise there. The public does like to bet favorites, although really in all sports when it comes to the playoffs, especially the deeper you go in the playoffs, can't get much deeper than the Super Bowl, the public will often bet on underdogs. So I guess in a sense that is a fairly big statement that the public is betting at a 69% rate on the Patriots. 76% of bets are on the over despite this historic total, one of the highest totals you'll ever see, not just in a Super Bowl, but in an NFL game. 58.5 is a ton of points. This pits the number one team in the NFL spread-wise in terms of record against the number one team in the NFL in terms of margin of cover, or you might hear the term sweat barometer. That's really picked up in the past few years. But basically, it is the same as a points per game margin, except it is relative to the point spread. New England is a stunning 15-3 against the spread this year. Pretty impressive number considering they've been a big favorite in most of their games. They're covering by an average of 5.7 points per game. Now, that latter statistic puts them number 2 in the league behind, guess who? The Atlanta Falcons, who are 12-6 against the spread, although that's not quite as dominant of a spread record as New England has. They're actually covering by 7.2 points per game. And just in case you're curious, yes, that is cumulative. That includes wins and losses, not just in the games that they cover, but overall, they are covering their games by an average of 7.2 points per game. The Falcons are bar none the top over team in the NFL, going over 15-2 by an average of 9.3 points per game. And yes, that is an incredible margin this late in the season. And of course, you can't get any later in the season than the Super Bowl, but it's very rare, even after like week 9, week 11, week 12, that you're going to see a team that has gone either over or under by such a significant margin. Now, New England's been a slight under team this year, going under at a 10-8 rate by an average of 1.8 points per game. Now, here's kind of the scary thing, and it certainly explains why the total's so bleeping high. Tom Brady, arguably the greatest quarterback ever, at least based on this year's statistics, would be the second best quarterback in this game. Matt Ryan, league MVP. He's actually thrown 3 touchdowns in 4 straight playoff games going back to last year. He is the first person in history to do that. Yeah, Tom Brady did not do that. Joe Montana, of course, they didn't really pass as much back then. But yeah, the first quarterback in NFL history to throw for 3 touchdown passes in 4 straight playoff games. Matt Ryan. New England gets a stunning 1.3 more yards per pass than their opponents normally allow. And that's a very important metric. I know the media likes to talk about yards per game, whether it's rushing, whether it's passing yards, whether it's total yards. And then some people more wisely give the rushing yards per attempt, passing yards per attempt, both on offense and defense. The more important metric that the sharp gamblers give is yards per rush, yards per pass, yards per play, relative to what their opponents normally allow. So again, New England getting 1.3 more yards per pass than their opponent's defense normally allows. You think that's impressive? Well, the Falcons 1.9 yards per pass, more than their opponents normally allow. Now, based on those same metrics defensively, New England is just slightly above average against the pass, holding teams to 0.2 yards per pass under their normal average. Atlanta just 0.1 yards per pass below their normal average. So again, that's why the total is so high. Both teams spectacular passing the ball. Both teams so-so defending the pass. Now, strength of schedule, that's very subjective. There's a lot of different power ratings as far as strength of schedule is concerned, but most of them that are used by the sharp gamblers do agree that Atlanta has played the tougher schedule this year. Now, you want the spread winner, you want the over-under winner, you want some prop bets. Joe Duffy's picks at offshoreinsiders.com. Keep in mind, last year was one of our better years for prop bets, including Von Miller. We had him as the MVP. I believe he was like 17-1, something, maybe even a little bit higher. I can't even remember the exact odds. But we had Von Miller, rare case of the defensive player winning the MVP. We had that as one of our prop bets, as well as some other prop bet winners, but it's all at offshoreinsiders.com. But forget about just the Super Bowl. We're talking about the rest of basketball season. March Madness, before you know it, is going to be here. Baseball, the undisputed king of the underdog and the small favorites, going back to my score phone days. Been picking well before this internet was here. Been picking you winners well before most of the Johnny-come-lately handicappers. I know so many people trying to sell you picks. Those guys come and go. And I've been picking winners literally since before most of those guys were born. Most of them go back to their jobs as waiters at Chili's or working in gas stations. One of the very few people who's a pro-time handicapper, pro-time gambler. That is all I do for a living. Get your winners. Offshoreinsiders.com. Been doing it since I graduated college. Was actually doing it in college in the 1980s with Dallas Sports. Joe Duffy's picks at offshoreinsiders.com.